We have none. Okay. Second item is approval of the agenda. I'd like to note that council has a handout of 3 pages to do with the 5-year financial plan. So the second page of your handout replaces page 29 in your agenda, and the third page replaces page 32 in your agenda.
And I'd like to apologize for the error of that.
Okay, take care. So can I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Moved by Councillor Thompson, Councillor Reichert. All in favor? Carried. Second item on the agenda, or third item I guess, would be the motion to approve the minutes of the March 22nd, 2016 regular council meeting. Can I get a mover and a seconder on that?
So moved.
I'll second.
Councillor Thompson, Councillor Tracy. Any errors or omissions? No, hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Next item on the agenda is the motion to approve the minutes of the April 12, 2016 regular council meeting. Can I get a mover and seconder? Councillor Reichert, seconder.
I'll second.
Councillor Tracy. Any errors or omissions? Councillor Thompson.
Under unfinished business,
Page, please.
page 9.
Okay.
Almost feel like deja vu. About the middle of the page, moved and seconded by Councillor Reichert Tracy, Schedule A, Order of Business, item 11, be moved not to item 10, but to item 5.
Oh, for heaven's sakes. Thank you.
Deja vu.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. This will be amended.
So that was on page 9.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
No, I'm not.
So I guess the motion will be to adopt the minutes as amended. Any other errors or omissions? Oh, call the question. All in favor? Carried. Moving on to unfinished business. May 2nd, urban backyard chicken survey. So I guess we'll still hang on to that one for a bit. The next one is the temporary use permit 2016.04.04 Gasser. Is that how you pronounce that? Public notice will be given as per recommended time frame and adjacent property. Public consideration will be given at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, May 10th, 2016 in council chambers. So can I get a motion that the temporary use permit 2016.04.04 Gasser be taken to public hearing on May 10th at 7 p.m. in council chambers? Councillor Reichert, seconder.
I'll second.
All in favor?
We have questions?
Oh, questions? Are there, Councillor Thompson?
Yes, I do have a couple of questions. Could I get clarification on what it means and adjacent property?
So not only do we do a public notification, we do notification, handwritten notification to adjacent properties as well.
Okay. My second question, if I may, 7 p.m., will that conflict with the start time of the May the 10th council meetings?
No, because we haven't done the final reading. That's when we'll be doing the final reading on that. So it's been posted, this is its 2nd week. And then we have to, we couldn't catch the first one. Only one paper does them consecutively. So we met Tuesday, we put it in, but it didn't come out till the next paper. So it didn't come out that Wednesday.
Then you have to have 2 consecutive, right?
2 consecutive, that's correct.
Okay, so that will delay it to the 2nd meeting in May, then we'll be going to the 7th.
That's when, so that May the 10th we'll do the readings on it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you
So-
for verifying that.
Public hearing is at 7 o'clock then?
Yes, and approving officer Simmons feels that there's 2 public hearings that I've requested for this meeting, and he figures that half an hour is plenty. He will be here for that process with us.
questions? I'll call a question and all in favor? Carried. Next item on the agenda is the Trans-Canada Yellowhead Highway Association for their annual general meeting and conference in Edmonton from May 13th to 14th. Discussion on the development and suggestions of resolution for the Trans-Canada floor. So I did follow up with Councillor Bezanson, who is going to it, and forwarded Mr. Frederick's email to him. Well, it was already forwarded to him, so. So basically, I also spoke with Don, God, I can't remember his name, the president of the Trans-Canada, or sorry, the general manager of the Trans-Canada, on how best to deal with this and whether we should be putting in a resolution or if it should just go to the floor for discussion at the actual meeting itself. And so I read it out to him, and there are a couple things that can be done in-house with the RCMP. And the rest of it, he said his suggestion would be to just forward it to the admin assistant, and he'd make sure that it gets onto the agenda and docket to discuss at the Trans-Canada itself. Basically to doing with the length of closures on the highway themselves. So that'll be dealt with there, and then the executive will deal with a letter of support in resolving the situation. And I know that you were looking into it too, Councillor Thompson, so did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Well, just further to the three discussions that Frederick had submitted, there was a subsequent item that came up at the LDM stakeholders meeting on the 20th. April 20th. And that has to do with perhaps a resolution to talk about the bridge rates on Highway 16. There's been a noted increase, not necessarily and you might help me if I get this wrong, not necessarily in the number of trucks, but in the weight of the trucks traveling down Highway 16, and many of our bridges are rated to 85 tons. And with the increased size of transport trucks going down Highway 16, we need to start the process of moving our bridge decks in the province to 125 tons if we're going to maintain Highway 16 as a transportation corridor. Did I get that somewhat right?
And you said that was in a subsequent email?
No, I've just got this from the notes from the stakeholder meeting, and Lucille Green was going to draft up something and get it to us. She was one of the ones that brought this up.
Good. Councillor Thompson, was it to look at having the province increase the load limit to, what was it, 125?
I think the number was 125.
Okay.
But we can confirm that. But if the process is going to be that you're going to forward these to Highway Association, then as soon as I get that information, if it's okay with council, if we just forward that to you, Kelly, and
yes,
we go from there.
Yes,
yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lucille is. Oh, you here?
I'm here.
I'll work with Lucille later and we'll get something for you.
Thank you.
Okay.
That would be great. All right, so we know we've got Councillor Bezanson going to all of that. The next item on the agenda is the Build Small Communities Grant for Dominion Creek Water Intake Replacement discussion and request for clear direction on page 13 of your agenda. Kelly, did you want to speak to this?
I can't speak to it. Sorry guys, I've got something going on as I spoke here. So on April 11th, we had Councillor Thompson had asked us to look into this. We did bring the information forward, and you had given us direction to continue to look into it. On page 14, you'll notice there's wording for a resolution, but I think the discussion that council may want to have is, so we have an estimated cost of $320,000, and 33% is our share. It's a 33, 33, 33. Now, I have received information since then, just checking out, trying to develop this, that the environmental permits alone for this project will be $7,600. On top of that, the piece of work that has to be done by the engineers to submit this grant will be a minimum of $2,000. I just thought it might be something council wants to discuss, as at this point in time, it isn't an identified project. It is certainly on our very high, probably the highest priority we have. And there had been no discussion for room for that in the budget. So before administration undertakes the extra fees that it would cost us to complete this project, which is due the 28th. Yeah. I'm just hoping you guys will have some discussion and then give administration some clear direction on how to proceed with this. Whether you want us to proceed with this intake, whether you want us to wait for the next intake.
Can you tell me when the next intake is?
No, they never guarantee an intake. It's consistently, it's been annually, but no, they won't say when the next intake is.
Okay, and so, Kelly, it's my understanding that we have to actually do the whole project, pay the $320,000 out of our pocket, submit everything, and then we're reimbursed, so there's quite a timeline of putting the money out and actually getting the money back?
I'd imagine that as the project goes along, we're certainly going to incur cost all that way. I don't have it in writing that that's how that would happen. Excuse me. We would certainly want to have saved for that and created a reserve fund so that we had the monies to go forward in a timely fashion, because once you get these things, of course, there's an expectation on completion time and reporting out.
That's what you guys have to say for
So we have 74,000 saved towards that currently.
Well, we still won't know the answers till the auditors break out what money we have in water, sewer, and garbage reserves, correct?
No, this is a reserve that you have currently this year.
This year.
For this year.
Excuse me.
Okay, any, council have any other questions?
I'm thinking about our meeting with Jim Martin, so I'm going slow to think.
That's okay.
I'm concerned the deadline is 2 days away.
Yeah, we have done a great deal of work on it.
Okay.
It would cost us, it would incur us costs that was never budgeted for or discussed at this table to complete. And that is the engineering fees.
Okay. I'm gonna go back to our planning session notes, and we did our needs assessment, and so we wrote down needs and wants, and I'm referring, if anybody forgets, you can get a copy of the 2016-17 planning session notes, like I said, where we had, as a group, identified the water pond intake as priority number 1 on our needs.
It is.
And my biggest concern with these federal grants is their indication that this is the intake. This is it. There are no more. That's basically their statement, that this is a program and the grant application closes tomorrow and there may never be another one in this cycle.
So that they've said that they've told you this?
They told me this is on, if you listen to the news and stuff.
Oh, I see, yes.
The grant cycle on this, what do you call it, Build Canada Small Community Fund.
Small Community, yes.
This is your chance.
Well,
And I do also note, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but on number 18 here on the page 14 that you provided, there is the opportunity for project costs to be completed well into the future.
there is, yes, and that's what I wanted to talk to you about.
And I would I know we have the engineering report. I don't know whether Karen's been able to get the other stuff together or even can dedicate time in the next day to get what's all required for the application. But I think that we should be putting something in with a work completed between a date into the future so that we are in the queue, because if you're not in the queue, you may never be in the queue.
So we do have a great deal of it completed. The piece was the extra cost to have the engineers update the report they gave us, because that isn't acceptable any longer. I think it's 3 or 4 years old now. And that was really it. That's the cost factor right there. So we wanted, and the other thing I had wanted to talk to you about is we do have the opportunity to extend the work when we expect to finish it. And so that might be a date you guys want to discuss, and we can include that in there. So this page is right out of the application that you're seeing here.
Well, my concerns is one is coming up with the almost almost $10,000 just to submit the grant itself.
No, no, the 7,600,
Is for the environmental permits.
that will be for environmental permits. We do not have to have environmental permits to apply.
Okay, so basically the 2,000.
2,000 was an approximate, an approximation.
Okay. And the Small Communities Fund has been ongoing for a lot of years, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So there isn't any real indication that this could be the last year. They just say that every year.
I don't know.
Well, but if you look at that page 14,
Yeah.
they're already planning for projects to 2020.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this page is indicating.
Yeah.
So that's your 5 years.
Yeah.
We had 7,000 in reserves.
This year.
That's what we paid.
Well, how does council feel about it?
I think we should be picking a date, number 18, like deciding when we pick a date.
It's, so I'm taking it your indication is then that you want to go ahead with the grant application process?
Yes.
Councillor
And,
Tracy?
and so just to let you know, we wouldn't get the money this year.
No,
Yeah, okay, just, yeah.
Yeah. So that's
that
what
would
you,
be upon completion, am I correct?
We wouldn't even hear back from them for months and months and months.
Why not?
Yeah.
What I was saying is if we pick a completion date of
Mhm.
March 31st, 2020,
Yeah,
for instance, then we wouldn't receive the money until it was completed, correct?
You wouldn't see money until the year in which you were doing the project.
mhm.
Right, okay. So,
Yeah.
all right, so, well, it sounds like council wants to go ahead with the grant application then?
Okay,
Okay, so do I need a motion on
You
that?
do.
one, Bill? Can I get a motion that council, council directs administration to complete the application for the new Canada Build Fund Small Communities Grant for our water intake project?
so
Moved by councillor Reichart, seconder.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Should we actually put a date on when we want that done?
yeah, we
Like, we
can,
need a target date.
yes, we do.
Ian, can I get that in the second
Yep.
motion?
We can't.
Yep.
So I'll call that on the first one. So all in favor of submitting the grant application? Carried. And then the second part is a motion that we expect the work to be completed April 1st, 2019 to March 31st, 2020. Is that the one everybody's thinking about? Pardon?
You said completed first, 1 year, word,
Yeah.
started.
yeah.
So if we are expecting the work to be completed between April 2019 and March 2020.
So you finished the project on the 19th, but you submit all your bills before 2020. You actually have to finish your project in 2019,
Yeah.
because that's their fiscal year.
So is that the date range you're looking at? Go ahead, Councilor Thompson.
I've been up to the water intake, and I think we need to put a higher priority on this than 5 years down the road now. We could be having a similar situation to Lagoon Road washout. And I would suggest that we look more realistically at a 2017 to 2018 timeframe.
Okay, so from the April 1st, 2017 to March 31st, 2018?
That gives us ample time to plan for the required funds.
Okay. Any other? Yeah. Okay, so, Council, have any other comments on that one? You're good with that one?
I would agree, yeah.
Okay, so then a motion to have the project's cost completed by the April 1st, 2017 to the March 31st, 2018 date. So,
Second.
all three of you going at the same time. All in favor? Carried. All right, so we'll move on to the report section. Councilors, who wants to go first? I'll go first. Okay, go ahead.
Excuse me, sorry. April 14th, the Robert's Rules of Order session with Jim Martin from the Jensen here in Council Chambers. April 15th, I was at OBAC in Prince George, and we had a great presentation by Tim Ryan, the chair of the Forestry Practices Board. April 16th, board meeting at Community Forest. April 21st, Regional District Ranger Fort George. The board highlights were not in the agenda. But there, I couldn't find them in the agenda, but there was some copies on the back table there. I'm sure you're aware there was a fire at the landfill there in the compost pile. That's been cleared up, business as usual. They're accepting yard and garden waste again, so it's all a go. April 26th, oh, that's today. I was at the informal dinner with the school board, and then I went to the beginning part of the school board meeting, and that's why I was slipping in just under the wire here tonight. And aside from the meetings I've had, we have numerous conversations via email, phone, in person, people come to the store with several residents on a variety of topics.
Thank you. Councilor Tracy?
Okay. On April 13th, we went and walked through the train station. April 14th, regional. April 15th and 16th was MCFC, and April 20th was the Community Foundation meeting. And I was fortunate to join the group at the lovely sit-down with the school. And that's it.
Thank you. Councilor Thompson?
April the 14th, council training with Jim Martin and Carla Jensen on Robert's Rules of Order. This was a session, of course, on providing a review of our meeting procedures as they relate to the community charter, our procedures bylaw, and Robert's Rules of Order, which I have right there, in case you need them. April 20th, I attended the LDM Summer Stakeholders Meeting. The agenda is attached to my report, which I'll submit. This meeting was chaired by John Queer, LDM Limited Operations Manager, and was to review the winter operations and to provide information on projects that may interrupt travel into and out of the area during the summer months. Some important points from the meeting. Contrary to rumors, LDM has not been bought out but has taken on a new shareholder. We won't notice any change other than 3 letters on their trucks. It will be Inc. instead of Ltd. There will be significant bridge work in the Jasper area and summer slowing traffic, in Jasper area, slowing traffic in both directions. There'll be crack sealing at the highways 5 and 16 junction, and there's a major paving project from Avola to Whitewater. So this would be a good year for a staycation, because you'll get held up in every direction. Brief meeting with Miles Bruns, Jerry Flavel, and Mike from Community Futures. Just a brief session here in the office to basically get introductions prior to their succession planning workshop. I too have had many face-to-face meetings and discussions with other community members, and I submit that.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson.
Councillor Thompson. For myself, I attended the Province Rules session by Carla on April 14th. I attended the Community Forest meeting on the 16th. Received Emergency Operations Center training put on by the province here on April 18th with the Valemont Council and senior staff. I attended the public info session at Crescent Spur on the library zoning referendum. On April 20th, I attended a community foundation meeting. Our spring grants are well on their way. Then tonight I met with the Board of Education at the Grizz for the informal dinner. I also took some time on April 21st while I was in Prince George to catch up with Renee and on the Prince George Treaty Advisory Committee. And then I've also met with many ministerial staff over on a few different occasions over this last little bit. So that's mine. Administration, did you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. It's, we've all been together at many of the functions. The auditors attended our offices the week of April 4th to 8th. Administration has been working on completing the EMBC emergency plan for the village. We did have one complete, but it did need to be updated with contacts, new best practices, referring back to new legislation and stuff. We've worked on a number of bylaws and policies over the last month. The sign bylaw, the 5-year financial plan, the tax rate bylaw. Of course, I'm always working with council and assisting as or where I can. I attended the NCL GMA in Prince George, and I participated in a number of really excellent learning sessions. Two that really stood out for me was the one that was facilitated by Donald Stone, and it was on bylaws and the really significant changes that are now being requested of us around bylaws. And Mr. Martin and Carla touched on that in our session as well, how very much things were changing. And the other one that was really interesting was on the Freedom and Privacy Information Act, how much that's changed case law that has done things that we might have thought were just, you know, everyday things. Things have really tightened up in that world. Our OHS committee meets monthly. What they look at is reviewing, identifying any policy that might need to be brought to council's attention that may not be meeting new work-safe legislation. And, excuse me, of course, you know, we liaison with Regional District, our building inspector, Mr. Schneider, Ministry of Finance, our local governance, and any advisors that we need to. And the door is always open to our residents, and I'm glad to say that many of them pop in to say hi and sometimes not say hi, but mostly to say hi, and it's very positive. And I have attached my agenda just so folks that maybe haven't had an opportunity to go to one of these conferences can see the wealth of information and formal training and then less formal training that goes on over the 2.5 days. Thank you.
All right, so we've got nothing in from finance this agenda?
Worked with the auditors, you have the decent, the 5-year plan, and you have the tax rate bylaw.
Okay. And nothing in from public works?
No, they'll report the next meeting.
In the next meeting. All right, can I get a motion to receive the reports for information?
So maybe I'll second it.
Councilor Eckert, Councilor Thompson. All in favor? Carried. All right. Next one, requiring action. Gold Camping BC. Requested to take advertising space out of the Gold Camping BC provincial and on the provincial parks website. The recommendation is a motion that council refer this package to the Robson Valley Tourism Society. It's on page 17 of your agenda. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please?
So moved.
Councilor Eckhart, seconder.
Second.
Councilor Thompson. Any comments or questions on that? Nope, hearing none. Call the question then. All in favor? Carried. Next one is the Regional District of Fraser Fort George Natalie Weird Municipal Finance Authority's debenture issue on page 21 on your agenda package. The recommendation is that council consider whether they anticipate capital projects that would require the village securing a loan from MFA. If so, July 4th, 2016 is the cutoff for submitting the required documentation to the Regional District of Fraser Fort George.
So it's just acting as a notice for you guys?
Okay, so and we don't really have anything where
We may have something
Yeah.
for that.
It's just to let you know that it's come out now and that you should consider looking for that. We've got a month, 2 months for it, so, yeah.
Is this something that should be referred to committee of the whole for discussion?
That's a very good
I
idea.
guess so, if we've got projects coming down.
I think that's a great idea, yeah.
It's not a project.
It's not a project. It's already done project.
Oh,
We will,
Committee of the whole.
Okay, so we'll refer that to a committee of the whole then.
Mhm.
So do I need a motion?
no,
on that?
that's my direction.
Okay. Alrighty, so in information, we have got, we were awarded a grant of $3,500 to plant McBride Interpretive Woodland Area Planting Project from BC Hydro. So congrats to Karen on that one, that's on page 22. But nothing,
Where-
Councilor Thompson.
Where is the McBride Interpretive Woodlot Area Planting Project?
Walk around the lagoon.
Okay, just one clarification.
Sounds really fancy this way, though.
Yeah.
Alright, so we have nothing in outgoing, so we'll move on to bylaws, permits, and policies. Page 23 on your agenda package. A motion that council authorize taking 521 Main Street to public hearing on zoning bylaw. Is there two separate motions for the same thing there, Kevin?
No, if you notice, this is approving Officer Simmons.
Okay.
He would like a motion that you authorize the public hearing, and then that you motion to hold the public hearing.
All right, so can I get a mover on a seconder on authorizing the public hearing on 521 Main Street? Councilor Reichert, seconder.
I'll second.
Councilor Tracy. Any comments on that one? Councilor Thompson.
I'm wondering why we're making this motion prior to the results of the referendum, because we could do this at any special meeting once that outcome is determined.
My understanding is the reason that we're proceeding at the time and in the fashion that we are because of the time limits with the agreement on the property itself between the regional district and the landowner. And with the results of the consent vote. I'll never get used to that after a referendum for most of my life. So basically, we're falling in line with that. That's basically the only reason, Councilor Thompson.
And that is my understanding from approving Officer Simmons as well. That is based on timelines.
Okay, so I've got a question which might require Tilly to call a recess and do some thinking. How does this, I'm reading from the community charter requirements for passing bylaws.
Right.
3 readings can be done at once, there has to be 1 day between adoption of standard things. If this or another act requires that a bylaw receive, number 4B, approval of the electors or assent of the electors. The approval or assent must be obtained after the bylaw has been given 3rd reading and before it's adopted. I'm confused.
So how many readings have we given that bylaw?
2.
2. I don't know. I act on council, or on approving officer Simmons' direction. If we want to postpone this, I can certainly put that question to him tomorrow.
I'm looking at section 135 now. Oh,
I can just jot it down, or actually, if you don't mind, I can just scan it to him. Or,
I'm just
and we've only given it 2, that is correct.
given, and I don't know whether section 135 applies in this case or not. But
I don't know.
and I'm sort of looking at the process, and
Mhm.
we've already started the assent vote. And I don't know whether, maybe we need to think this one out at this table.
I would think if we're gonna do this, we would refer it to,
I would refer it back to our approving officer.
however, the timelines are quite tight.
Although Councillor Thompson has made a good point, we can have a special meeting. Yeah.
So I have been struggling over this.
Mhm.
Maybe I can share my thoughts, and it might help us understand. Okay, we're currently in the middle of an assent vote for the purchase of a building and property.
Yes.
The motion before us is to rezone set up a public hearing for rezoning of a piece of property.
Mhm.
So as I work through this in my head, does the assent vote have anything to do with the rezoning? Or are they two separate items?
But it wouldn't mention the public hearing, would it?
Pardon me?
It would have something to do with the zoning, but it wouldn't mention the public hearing itself.
No, well, I
Public
think
hearing is on the zoning.
the public hearing
Is
is
an
on rezoning, not on the vote. But then the question would be, I think where I can see where Councillor Thompson is going, is perhaps it's a no vote that they purchase.
But it's just a public hearing, we're actually rezoning at that.
Oh,
time.
no,
It's
no,
just a
we're
public
not
hearing.
rezoning at that time.
Right.
Yeah,
So
not
it
at all,
wouldn't make a
no.
difference here or there.
No,
What does it say in there? We've done 2 hearings on this.
we have done 2. And 135 does say the 3. Now, Mr. Simmons is usually very aware of items, and his recommendation was, now, it was just for a public hearing, and it wasn't till May 10th, was his recommendation.
And it was prior to the 3rd reading.
Yes.
And what does it say? I'm sorry, Kelly.
I'm sorry? what
I
do you
don't
mean?
know off the top of my head what it says in section 135.
Oh, here you go.
Meeting charter.
That you have 3 readings before you hold a public hearing.
Is that what you're saying, Councillor Thompson?
Mhm.
And that's what we
But
have done.
But I guess what I'm trying to grasp around is, and for clarity around the table, there's really 2 things, I think there's really 2 things going on. One is the assent vote.
Yes.
That's to purchase a building.
Mhm.
So let's set that aside, no matter what it is. That's
Yeah.
a separate animal.
It is.
So in that case, the assent vote, as stated in section 135, really doesn't apply to the second part, which is setting a public hearing for a rezoning application.
That's correct.
So that's sort of, but if you can follow on, when I read section 135, and I hear that we're in the middle of an assent vote, I begin to get
Oh, of course.
confused.
But the assent vote is not our village business. Other than that we as villagers vote for it. That's a regional district item.
I think I would feel more comfortable in tabling this and bringing the questions to,
Postponing it.
yes.
No, you can't table it, because that would come later in the meeting.
Sorry, sorry, postpone it
Yep.
until we can get some information from, don't start.
He's got his list
Yeah,
from Mr. Simmons.
from Mr. Simmons, yeah, and I
Okay.
guess that would also go to the next one, which is B, so that public
Okay.
hearing,
You have to finish that.
be held. So we'll,
So we still have a motion on the table, so that needs to be dealt with.
how would I deal with that if we're just gonna,
That you would call and it would be defeated, and then you give me direction.
unnecessary stuff?
I know, aren't you sorry we took that training now?
Well, it just seems silly to call the question just to defeat it, so I
I know.
can defer it. I'll call the question then. All in favor? Opposed? All opposed? Yes, it's defeated.
So now you can just give us direction.
And now I'll give you direction to forward this information and Counselor Thompson's concerns to Gordon Simmons, our approving officer, and have him follow up as soon as possible, and we'll have to call a special
Of
meeting.
course.
Okay. Nothing can ever be just straightforward and easy. All right, next item on the agenda, number C, motion that council give the 5-year financial plan bylaw 764.2016 its first, second, and third reading. It's on page 27 of your agenda package.
Can I just, point of information,
Mhm.
can I get clarification on which pages go where now that you got this second?
Okay, so
so
here's this insert, your section B, and again, I do apologize. Your section B, so your schedule A is correct.
so page 28 is correct.
Page 28 is correct. So your property, your revenue sources,
No, in the back one page there.
oh, sorry, am I ahead of myself here?
Yeah.
Schedule B.
Oh, right, so your
Schedule B.
Schedule B is as presented in your handout, and there are copies at the back, and it is on the webpage. We put that up first thing this morning for everyone to look at.
Okay, so, did you get the Counselor Thompson? Schedule B, here is the one that replaces page 29.
That's correct. The one that, so the 2016 financial plan statement, Schedule B of bylaws 764. This one here, Counselor Thompson.
Okay.
You got it?
Okay.
Okay, it's that one right there. Okay.
That one, schedule A.
Yes. 2 pages. And for those 2 pages, yeah.
Okay, and then there's the last page on there, which starts property taxation on your handout, because it's page 32 in your
Yeah.
agenda.
Thank you.
All right, so. So the motion on the
Do you
floor
need
is.
my copy, Enid? Oh,
there's
sorry,
something
ma'am.
here.
This property taxation is part of your personal
Mhm.
private fund.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be one page after the other. There shouldn't be a page in between.
Okay, so page 28 is correct?
Page 28 is correct. The next page is your page over there. The next page after that is your page.
This page after that.
Is this page?
You don't. So this is supposed to be
But then
that's for the
the other one,
fire requirement. It should be the,
And it also forms the property taxation of page 32, correct?
your fire requirement is this one.
That's all the 5-year plan, so what should be going after this one then?
The tax rate filing, you can't take it in.
I don't have that one.
You're supposed to have, that's your tax rate filing.
Okay, well,
Perhaps this needs to be
no, it'll go.
sorted out and looked at at a special meeting.
Yeah,
Maybe we just need a recess.
We can do that too. Do you want to do that?
Make sure we all have the same page.
And just ignore all of this?
well, I don't think that's really fair because that didn't get onto the agenda for the public to hear, so I think it should be redone properly, presented properly, so that everybody can see it.
But your bylaw 764, you have the information.
Yes.
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 But they're basically one and the same, so let's just,
That's called bylaw 764. 765 is your tax rate bylaw that you don't have the schedule of.
do you want to do them together, postpone them and then do them all at the one?
I think that'd be smarter.
Yeah.
I would.
Counselor Thompson, your feelings? Do you have any?
Just say no, Rick, just say no.
There's something in there that says the mayor is not supposed to be nasty. I read that. Well, I think I went through them separately, so I'm comfortable going through them if I've got them all in the right
But that's the
order.
thing.
I've just not,
So if we recess for a few minutes, Madam Mayor, we can run off copies.
Or we can
Or,
set it for.
or we will be guided by council's choice.
Well, I'm just saying that that's
Well, we have to put
information
in
that we
a-
have there should have been included in the agenda for the public to see,
You're missing the schedule.
so.
yeah, we're missing a schedule.
It's not in there at all. So, let's just,
It's not online either?
no,
No, so
Yeah.
they don't pay it to
So-
everybody.
we will postpone. Is that the correct one, Counselor Thompson, before you correct me? Postpone,
I move to postpone the motion to a certain time. You have to specify a time.
postpone until, what about next Tuesday? I don't think anybody would,
We're not.
oh, that's right too, we're gone all next week.
Yeah, yeah, you can come, I'll be the one here.
They can have the
And you
meeting.
won't even.
So, and the following Tuesday, we already have 3 meetings that one day. We
Okay.
start at 6, 7, and then 7:30. So, you either have to have it in the meantime,
So we'll have to call a special meeting,
We're gonna have to call a special meeting.
okay?
Monday
For
the
Thursday.
9th.
This Thursday?
I think it's gotta be this week.
I think so,
This
because this
Thursday?
has to be all part of a plan going forward for the province. Is this Thursday okay with everyone?
I don't have anything on my docket for Thursday,
I'm good.
so make it for around 4:30 or so, that counts, or what about your schedule?
I can close early, I can have an appointment.
Okay,
What date is that date?
28th.
28th of April.
You have Councilor Thompson.
all right, so postpone until, what was the date, sorry, Counselor Thompson?
Thursday, April the 28th at 4:30 p.m.
April
Does that
28th
accommodate everyone?
At 4:30? I don't work that day, so that's good for me. Counselor Thompson, your schedule's good for that day?
Yes.
So, Counselor Thompson has moved to postpone until April 28th at 4:30. Can I have a seconder? Counselor Reichardt. All in favor? Carried. Next item on the agenda is E, a motion that council receive administrative report on the signed bylaw on page 33 on your agenda.
Just want to, so we move both of those
Yeah, that's what I
in
wanted.
the motion?
Yeah, that's what I have noted.
So page 33 on your agenda. So this has to do with the new,
Excuse me.
funding available to small businesses, small-based businesses
That's
through
correct.
NDI.
NDIT has made a grant available to home-based businesses to create professional signage. And they've got up to $5,000 per business to do this.
500,
Or 500, sorry, 5,000 is really good.
a nice sign.
Yeah. So that's for wayfinding signage. Now, what it is there's, our sign bylaws are just fine, but you will notice that our size does not allow our home-based businesses to take advantage of the grant. So our recommendation was that we just bring that up that extra bit. So instead of, I think I want to say at 400 or 500 square centimeters now, we ask that council consider bringing it to 900 square centimeters, which is about 30 centimeters square, so 30 by 30. So it's a square about this big, or a narrower one a bit longer.
Okay, so you're talking about replacing
Oh.
number 9 on page
Yes,
36 there?
just 9, yes, yeah. So currently, we have .2, and we're just asking that it go up that little bit.
Okay.
That everything else remain exactly the same, that it be constructed to professional standards, that it not be illuminated.
So for that one,
We need a motion on it.
yeah.
We
need a motion.
do, yes.
So,
So, a motion then that the sign bylaw 4.19, home business sign to read, home business sign not exceeding 1 per lot and 900 centimeters square in sign area and constructed to professional standards, and that the home business sign cannot be illuminated. Moved by Councillor Reichart. Lost my place here. There we go. Seconder?
I thought Sharon did.
She moved
Oh,
it. Okay, any other comments on that, Councillor Thompson?
so, just quick, so in that application for the facade program, the size of the sign that we have specified is too small?
Well, we'd asked for it in writing exactly what size they needed, and this was the size that they thought would be in the area that would be a fair size for people. They didn't give us any exact dimensions, and just that ours was rather small. Ours would be, our sign bylaw now for in-home businesses is about this big. And so this takes it out a little bit. So, you know, like a foot squared, except we're not saying that it has to be a square sign, which this one doesn't. It can be a bit longer and narrower. And other than that, that's all we're asking for is a small increase in the size for home-based business signs.
I just recall the sign bylaw in previous years was a long drawn-out debate in comparison with other communities, etc. So I don't know how, I can't recall how that size compared. Was there anything in the provincial regulations about home business signage?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Just, I don't know either.
In provincial regulations,
About home-based business?
no, that's always municipal.
Okay, those were my questions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Mark, you think? All right, any other questions? All the question, all in favor? Carried. Been a long day, I'm getting busy. All right, so on page 51 to 53, under new business, the BC Rural Dividend Select Committee. So, after that, we're more on some bylaw.
It is a very long bylaw.
All right, so a motion that council appoint Mayor Martin, Matt Rempel, Sheila Foster, and Alan Frederick to the BC Rural Dividend Select Committee. Moved by Councillor Reichert, seconded
No, seconded.
by Councillor Thompson. Any comments on that? It's basically everybody who applied,
Yes.
just so you know, nobody was left out.
When does this start?
From our conversations before, we will strike the committee. One of the first things we will do is to invite Councillor Thompson in to speak to the committee about the rural dividend, and then we'll go from there.
Oh, right.
Any other questions?
Couldn't find a fifth person, eh?
Couldn't find a fifth one. Okay, all in favor? Carried. Next item on the agenda, I would like to claim a potential conflict of interest as I am a sales associate with the liquor distribution branch. And Councillor Thompson, can you please be acting mayor while I leave the room?
Don't anyone, any sneaking.
That's
Here.
right. Don't be gavel or anything.
Nope, just a chair up higher.
The one you're sitting on the desk.
Okay, so we have, under new business, a application from the Reckless Softball Club for a beer garden on June 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And we have a motion that is suggested that the council allow the Reckless Softball Club to host a beer garden in conjunction with their slow pitch tournament. Beer garden will be in the pavilion behind the ball field, and we held June 3rd, 4th, and 5th, 2016, from 11 a.m. through 9 p.m. each day. Can I put each day in there?
Yes.
Because I don't want it to start at before. So I would need a mover and a seconder.
I'll move.
All right, Councilor Tracy moved.
Second.
And we have a seconder, Councilor Record. Any discussion? So if I want to discuss, I have to leave the chair.
No.
No. Okay. Is there a form, that we usually have an acknowledgement form from the Elks indicating that they are the registered charitable organization benefiting?
No, we don't have that. The form's included in our package. It's on page 54.
I usually have one that says that the Elks know that they're the charitable benefiting organization.
No, I have nothing. I did not receive anything like that.
Okay. Might be just something to just check on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Registered charitable organization benefiting, it says McBride, number 247. That is our Elks in Royal Purple.
Right, but then usually there's a form that's
Yeah.
signed by the Elks.
No, I have nothing.
Okay?
So they have to apply for a liquor license, like, do
Yeah.
they have to provide that to
They'll
us?
have to do their thing.
Right. But do they provide that to us then?
No, it's up to them. Any further questions on the liquor license? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Beer garden is on.
Thank you.
So did you do the porta potty too?
Nope. Because you have nothing to do with porta potties.
Yeah, there's no beer left for them.
Alright, moving on, the next item on the agenda is a motion that council allow the Reckless Softball Club to erect a porta potty beside the pavilion for Pioneer Days. Porta potty will be set up and taken away by Reckless Softball Club, and all cleaning will be undertaken by club members. It's on page 55 of your agenda. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please?
So moved. Second.
Councillor Redcart and Councillor Tracy. Any comments or questions on the porta potty? Councillor Thompson.
From previous experience with porta potties, I just want to make sure that we include in this, or it should be included in here, that Reckless Softball Club will be responsible for complying with all the health and safety requirements of Northern Health. Porta potties require a wash stand or something.
Yes. Reckless Softball Club.
Will be responsible for complying with all health and safety requirements of Northern Health.
So that's an amendment to their motion? Amendment, a motion?
A long day.
Okay, that's been a long day. So I need a mover and a seconder on the amendment, don't I? Counselor Reichardt, seconder. Counselor Tracy. All right, so we move on the amendment first, so all in favor? Carried. I was so gonna say, did you have a porta potty experience? And then for voting on the main motion, all those in favor?
As amended.
As amended, sorry. Main motion as amended. Thank you, Councilor Thompson.
Second?
No,
We're
we're voting.
We're voting.
Just
We're
one.
voting.
All in favor? Carried.
I don't know about this training.
All right.
You planned it.
I know.
Had to be done. Number 10, a motion that in accordance with section 91E,
Point of,
what did I forget, sorry?
Uh-oh,
um,
the dreaded list.
yeah, I'll just do it from the top of my head. Is there a possibility that we could again move the questions from the public forward to before the in-camera?
I would suggest that, except where there is nobody
There is.
signed up for questions.
Well, then leave that.
May I carry on?
Carry on.
Okay. A motion that in accordance with section 91E, the meeting be moved into in-camera. So moved. Counselor Reichardt, second.
Second.
Counselor Thompson, all in favor? Carried. And a motion that the open meeting be recessed at 8:35, 6, 7, 8.
8:34. 8:34.
8:34? So moved. To conduct the closed in-camera meeting, moved by Counselor Reichardt, seconded by
Councilor Thompson.
Counselor Thompson, all in favor? Carried. Thanks everyone for coming out.